Okay. So, for those eagle-eyed on our Facebook feed, you'll have seen that we announced our team of March, rounds 2 through to round 6, and this was that team. Love a good jingle, sir. Love a good jingle. Very nice. So there you go. There's our team of March. Matt Duffy at fullback, Tom Johnson, Josh Charnley on the wings, Nene McDonald, Adam Kieran in the centres, Williams and Lachlan Lamb in the halves, Tom Amone, who was second only to Paul Vaughan in metres made as a prop forward, Darryl Clark in there, Kai O'Donnell, who personally sensational in March, Reece Martin, Cameron Smith. What were your thoughts, Greg? About right?
I couldn't find much to disagree with there, to be honest.
No.
I think Cameron Smith, apart from the last game, has been in really top form. He wasn't so good this weekend, but top form. Reece Martin, has played a number of. He's probably played as many games at the centre as he can roll this season. But there's not a lot I can argue with there. If I'm being honest with you, Tom Amone's had or Amane, or however you say it, has had a solid start to the season.
Absolutely.
Good to see Paul Vaughan, the man who doesn't exist.
Yes, the man who doesn't exist in terms of Super League Man of Steel points. But we also announced that Paul Vaughan was our player of the month, and of course Darryl Powell, our coach of the month. No real surprises there based on what's happened during the start of the season. And of course, it's for them now to be knocked off the perch. Let us know in the chat if you agree with that. But I think based on the comments in Facebook, very few had any issues with that.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue Jay Field and Bevan French from Wigan, but
they only came good though, mate. The last 2 games,
it makes a change that there are no Saints and no Wigan players in there. I think that says a lot for the quality of other teams in the league at this early start of the season. It could all even itself out at the end.
Yeah, I think
we've got I think
the only Saints player that's unfortunate not to be in there is Hurrell. I think Hurrell has had a really solid start to the year.
He's missed a couple of games, hasn't he?
He has. Exactly that. And that's why he wasn't there, because he did miss 2 games in March through suspension. You're spot on, sir. As always, finger on the pulse, Gregory. Finger on the pulse. Right.
Sunday name.
It's a Sunday. Right. Let's get into some other news then. Let's just have a little play with this for a moment. Right. Okay. So, hello. This has been announced this evening. The Glens Player of the Month nominees, the official ones from Super League. George Williams, Paul Vaughan, no issues there. Cameron Smith, I think, having a sensational start for Leeds. Charnley, absolutely. Adam Kieran. Bevan French. Now, Wigan fans, French has only come good in the last 2 games. For me, personally. It's been the last 2 games. A Player of the Month, it's about consistency. Cam Smith, consistently good for Leeds. In a team that's been up and down, Smith can hold his head high. Charnley, man reborn. Adam Kieran, probably at the moment, only second to Vaughan for me in terms of imports to the season.
I would say certainly Catalan's best player, I would have thought, this season.
Can't disagree with that, mate. Can't disagree with that. Williams, I think everybody would agree, is in incredible form. But French, I mean, don't get me wrong, the last 2 games, sensational. Absolutely sensational. But I'm sorry, for the whole month of March, no, I'm sorry. I can't see that for me. You?
No.
Where's Tom Johnson? Johnson? Top try scorer in the league. Where's Tom Johnson?
Exactly. You could argue for Darryl Clark, you could argue for Matt Duffy. I know they're Warrington players, but you could argue for any number of players. Might be slightly biased here for once.
Just slightly. John Wilkinson. That's a good shout. Steve Cartley's going in there. Tim Lafay. That's a good shout.
Yeah, missed the last game through injury though.
Last game, but that was round. That was round 7. Round 7 will be in the next batch. So the way we're going to do this, the way we're going to do this, obviously, there was a couple of games on Thursday and Friday last week. Of course, April the 1st was Saturday. We're going to look at it from a rounds perspective. So those 2 games that happened Thursday, Friday, we will pool them as round 7 games, and we will judge them as part of the April man of players and team of the league. So that's how we're going to do it. So the Bevan French performance that we saw at the weekend, will be included in, as with the Abdul one as well on Friday.
Yeah, I mean,
that will be took into account.
Lachlan Lamb's been consistent.
Very good. Very
Yeah.
good. And Amon, I mean, we just said Tom Amon.
Yeah.
Asiat has been in good form.
Yeah.
So yeah, interesting. Right, a couple of photographs there. So I think Greg's going to take the lead on slide 2 when we come back after the tries of the round. But yeah, why are these pictures on there? Well, first of all, it was Hamstring City, wasn't it? You know, unbelievable. You know, Wormsley, minimum 4 to 6. Tex Hoy, more than likely 6 to 8. And of course, already field has been said 8 to 10. Massive blows. We did a poll today. Who is the biggest loss for Good Friday? Alex Wormsley or Jay Field? At the moment, that's running at 77%. Jay Field is the bigger loss of the two. I don't think anybody would argue too much with that one.
Not at all. I think, you know, you take Jay Field out, you take Bevan French out. I don't cause any offence, but Wigan are a very ordinary team without those two in there.
Well, the last 2 rounds, I think they have been the difference, haven't they?
Everything Bevan French did on Thursday night, Friday night, can't remember when it was, just came off. Everything came off for him. He was super.
It was the perfect game. It was the perfect game. You know, I mean, that's a 2 or 3 in a season type of game. It was just, as you say, it was just it was
everything
a masterclass.
He did turn to gold. It was just brilliant to see.
Yeah, it was a masterclass. I was expecting to see the Tin Man and the Lion behind him, I have to be honest, as they were following the Yellow Bit Road. But anyway, that's another one. I don't know where they come from.
Tompkins is at Catalan now, mate.
You are, mate.
Tompkins is at Catalan now.
Yeah, that's true. Carl Fitzpatrick, come out this evening, this one. In negotiations with Darrell Clark and Curry, of course, both of those off contract this year. A lot of noises of Darrell Clark and Saints, Greg. Yeah,
and also Cruz Lehman as well, though, who's gone down under this week. Is it Wests?
No, he's gone Gold Coast.
Gold Coast with Tom McHaley, Leeming and Clark both being linked. To be fair, they're going to need a special player to replace Roby.
Yeah.
Darrell Clark's a special player.
Yeah.
It would be a great move for Saints if they got either of those players, I think.
Well, I think the fact that Leeming's contract is only till the end of the season is quite telling. I think that's quite telling. I think there could be something in. It wouldn't surprise me come May the 1st if he's announced as a Saints player for next year. In terms of keeping Clark at Warrington, that will be welcome news for Wire. But then again, saying that, and where the things have happened, should Clark go to Saints, would the Wire go for Leeming?
They could well do, although they've got a good kid coming through the reserves. Who is going to set Super League on fire in a few years. And
I think Walker is. I think Warrington are positioning Walker to take over the Clark.
80 minutes and had an excellent game on Saturday.
He did indeed.
Yeah.
Also, mate, just also as well, Fitzpatrick saying that already in talks with Williams to extend, and also they're looking at those players that are off contract in 24 as well. They're trying to tie down those players for extensions, which is good to hear if you're a Warrington fan. And then finally, there you can see. Sorry, mate, Andy last.
I was going to say. I mean, I spoke last week about the money that McHaley will free up and the supposed transfer fee. Maybe that's got them thinking that they can, instead of panic buying, which they don't really need to do.
No,
they could maybe use some of that money to tie up contracts over the next few years. Who knows?
Couldn't agree with more. Couldn't agree with more. Watch this space between now and, of course, May the 1st. Andy Last there, of course, he's come out as well and said that they're very close to announcing at Castleford. So a big game for him this weekend against Wakefield in terms of his ambitions of being given that job full time. There's also a lot of rumours at the moment that there may be a merry-go-round on the way in terms of Hull FC. Castleford Tigers are in the mix on that. A lot of talk of maybe a transfer merry-go-round over the next few days. So by the time we get back here next week, maybe there'll be a few players that have moved. We need to move it. Plenty of news to get in. First and foremost, you can see the fans there. Last week, 51,000, just over about 51,500 went through the turnstiles last week. It is expected to be a record-breaking Easter weekend. The record is 79,100 173. Two grounds have already announced they're over 20,000. I think the Wigan game is announced over 23,000.
Yes.
Catalan are expecting their biggest ever Easter weekend crowd. Leeds are always good for a 15k plus. So this is looking really good for rugby league this weekend.
Delighted. You know, we might just be getting back to where we were before COVID. You know, we're a couple of years after that, but it's taken its toll. You know, I'm still going to do's that were organised during COVID and had to be cancelled. We're still getting up. People haven't realised the massive effect it's had on people's lives. And I think, and the standard of rugby, though, is helping. I think
it's never been tighter this year.
I think Channel 4's coverage is helping because it's absolutely spot on and it's to a terrestrial audience. You know, Sky have kind of upped the game a little bit over the last few weeks. I've thought that, you know, they've kind of improved up the game. I think that's helped. And as you say, it's not just the same teams this year dominating.
No.
And certain teams when they are doing well always boost the numbers of always boost crowd figures when certain teams are doing well, and it's noticeable when those teams don't do well, mentioning no names, that figures aren't quite as high as they should be. So it's great to see. And you know, every game's on TV and it's still not putting people off. Every game.
It's a feast of rugby league this weekend. Let's give a few shouts.
I hope the kids don't want to go out this Easter.
There'll be an Easter egg hunt of the rugby ball variety. Good evening.
There's a fiver, kids. Get on the bus.
Good evening. So Greg Roach is with us. John Wilkinson with us. Andy and Serve already mentioned. Freddie McGilvey, as always, in the house. Steve Cartledge is with us. Woody Woodhouse, that's a new one on me. What a great name, Woody Woodhouse. Good evening, Woody. How are you, sir? Matthew Greenwood is with us as well. Alex Sharp, as always, is with us as well. Alex has already put a question in. Do we think that the disciplinary fines and not match bans are the best? Hang on. Do you think the disciplinary fines are not match bans are best?
Yeah.
I think so. It keeps players on the
100%.
pitch.
100%. I'd much rather they had to pay 500. On that, I know just digressing a little bit, I know my drop goal theory was kind of laughed out of the house last week, but there's been a lot of instances recently, and it happened again, I think, over the weekend, where players have been hit late off the ball and have had to be, have missed the rest of the game because they failed the HIA. Now, if a player's given a yellow card because of that, should that card instantly become a red if that player fails his HIA? It would certainly make them think again about hitting players late, because they're missing 10 minutes and crucial players are missing.
It's not always deliberate, though, mate. I get your point, but they're not always deliberate, and we want to keep players.
They're not, mate, but they're happening a lot. We seem to have these things happen a lot. We have a wave of instant shoulder charges, head-high tackles. This season, it seems to be late hits. You know, they're practicing tackling all week long. They should be timing their tackling.
Of what I've seen up to now, the yellows that I've seen, I think a yellow, 10 minutes on the side is enough. I've yet to see one where I'm looking at it and going, I mean, I think there was one early doors, wasn't there, in the season?
Hurrell got a red.
Hurrell, yeah. But yeah, no.
Got a yellow, and I think the player missed that. Because these players now are missing that game and the game after.
Yeah. I get that.
It's just a thought. It's just what do people in the forum think? If a player is hit late and has to miss the game because they fail a HIA, if the player that hits him is given a yellow card because he's a genuine late tackle, should that card become a red card? And then miss.
It's one for them to consider, mate.
Yeah, it's just an idea.
Eddie Hearn, you were a bit took by Eddie's comments this week, I think.
Yeah, no superstars in rugby league. Okay. Yeah, okay. So we're not talking Messi and Ronaldo, are we? But, you know, has he not heard of Kevin Sinfield and Rob Burrow?
Well, I think It's one of them, innit? I mean, I think where he was coming from was that, he's made darts players into superstars. And it was an interesting article in the fact
It
that
was. I think it might be a bit of sour grapes from our friend there. That they want the RFL wanted him to look at the Challenge Cup, and he said no. It's all or nothing. And you could argue the RFL were maybe not forward thinking enough, but I can see it from their point of view that if this guy can turn around the Challenge Cup and fill Wembley again, then we'll give him the gig with the whole league. Baby steps.
Yeah.
I think it's a bit of sour grapes.
Well, speaking of baby steps, IMG tomorrow are going to be giving the Rugby Football League and the chairman and executives of the Super League clubs their revised recommendations. A lot expected around the community game and community elements. And I think that everybody would welcome that, wouldn't they?
Yeah. I know there's been a lot of, Keithley, Featherstone, and a couple of other clubs have been unhappy at the IMG proposals, but we've got to see what the whole package involves before we start being negative about it. We've got to stop shooting ourselves in the foot. We've got to see what the full deal is.
Yeah.
And then, see what happens from then on, I think.
Yeah, couldn't agree with you more. Another Wakefield signing from Huddersfield, Nathan Mason now going to Wakey for 2 weeks.
Yeah, mate, Wakefield are in trouble.
In dire straits. We'll get to that in the highlights, but yes, they are in dire straits.
I mean, there was rumours this week that Tanganoa was going to Warrington, but I think they've been
still rumours on that.
Yeah, I looked on Facebook tonight, and I think those rumours have been quashed. Font of all knowledge Facebook, but.
Yeah, the rumour mill is there, isn't it? And then finally, the picture on the right-hand side that you saw was one of Luke Brooks. Those of you who don't know, he, of course, is a halfback at the West Tigers. And by all accounts, Leeds Rhinos are looking at Luke Brooks for 2024. Yeah,
that's where I got West Tigers from before when we're talking about leaving. Interesting. Who will he replace?
Well, both Caesar and Austin, I believe, are off contract at the end of the season. So
Austin again has blown a little hot and cold this season, but has strung a couple of performances together. Not quite the halfback pairing that they should be yet.
No.
But we can say that about Miller and Widdop, who I thought would be ripping it up, and they're not.
But with the greatest respect to Castleford, this is Leeds Rhinos we're talking about, and. Caesar and Austin will be on big money. And quite frankly, for me, they're not delivering.